On the last night of the year 2000, someone climbed through a bathroom window in a quiet Tokyo suburb. Inside was a family of 4. Police believed that within minutes, all of them were dead. Then the killer did something no one has ever explained. He stayed. He ate their ice cream. He used their computer. Reports say he slept on their sofa. When he walked out before dawn, he left behind his clothes, his knife, his fingerprints, his DNA. Japanese police have checked that DNA more than 1 million times. 25 years later, they still don't have a name. This is the Setagaya family murder case. Setagaya, Tokyo. One of the capital's quietest wards. Parks, small streets, families. On its western edge, beside a public park, stood a corner house on a street that was slowly emptying. The city was expanding the park. One by one, the neighbors had sold up and moved away. By December 2000, only 4 households were left standing. 2 of them were one family, the Miyazawas. And in the adjoining house, Yasuko's mother, Haruko. Mikio Miyazawa, 44, a branding man at an international firm, easygoing, well-liked, no enemies anyone could name. His wife, Yasuko, 41, taught children at a cram school. Niina was 8, she liked ballet and soccer. Ray was 6, the baby of the house. A week earlier, reports say, Mikio had asked some skaters in the park to keep the noise down. It seemed like nothing. Almost everything in this case would come to seem like nothing. December the 30th, the last Saturday of the year. Shopping done, the family ate dinner together. Niina watched television next door at her grandmother's and came home at 9:30. At 10:38 p.m., Mikio opened a work email at the desk downstairs. It is the last thing anyone can prove about the Miyazawa family alive. At the back of the house, above the air conditioner, there was a small bathroom window. Police believe he came over the fence, stepped up on the air conditioner, and slid the screen out of the window. Ray's room was the closest. Police believe the killer went there first. The 6-year-old never woke. He was strangled in his sleep. Investigators believe Mikio heard something and came up the stairs to meet it. The killer had brought a sashimi knife. He used it so hard the tip snapped off. Yasuko and Niina were together upstairs. There is no gentle way to say what happened there, and no need to. When his blade failed him, he took a knife from their own kitchen. And then, nothing. No one ran, no car started. He stayed. He ate 4 cups of ice cream. He cut a melon. He drank their barley tea. Somewhere in the dark, he had cut his own hand, and he dressed the wound with the family's first aid kit. At 1:18 in the morning, the family computer connected to the internet. 5 minutes. Then silence. He pulled the drawers apart and dumped the family's papers into the bathtub. He took over 100,000 yen in cash and left even more behind, untouched. Reports say he may even have slept there on the sofa before he left. Before dawn on New Year's Eve, he walked out and vanished. New Year's Eve, around 10:40 a.m., next door Haruko couldn't get an answer on the phone. She let herself in. Within hours, Seijo Police Station had the biggest case in its history, and it seemed the easiest, because the man who did this had left them everything. Chief Takeshi Tsuchida had walked crime scenes for decades. He said he had never seen one with more evidence. 12,500 items, full fingerprints, footprints, his blood, in more than 10 places. He left his shirt, light gray, purple sleeves. Only around 130 were ever sold. Police traced almost every buyer in Japan. Almost. He left his jacket, his hat, his scarf, his gloves, his hip bag. His shoe prints came from a pair of Slazingers, size 27.5, a size of that model never sold in Japan. It had been sold in South Korea. And in the hip bag, grains of sand. Reports say they matched a desert on the other side of the Pacific, near an American air base in California. Police have never confirmed that detail. In this case, even the sand is disputed. From the blood, a profile. Male, around 170, slender, right-handed, blood type A, and injured. From the DNA, something stranger, ancestry markers pointing east and west at once. A paternal line common across East Asia, a maternal line reaching towards southern Europe. It could mean anything or nothing. A single distant ancestor would explain it all. Whoever he was, he had never been booked in Japan. His prints matched no one. His DNA matched no one. 5 million fingerprint checks, 1.3 million DNA comparisons. Nothing. So, why? Robbery? He took some of their money and ignored the rest. A grudge? The skaters from the park were checked and cleared. The land? One journalist built a whole book on a hired killer from abroad. Police could never substantiate it. Then, in 2021, new image technology finally found a man who had bought the very same knife. His DNA was tested. It wasn't him. For almost a quarter of a century, the file barely moved. Then the DNA itself began to talk. Every December the 30th, officers stand outside Seijogakuin-mai station, handing out flyers. Beside them stands a mannequin dressed in his clothes. The reward is 20 million yen. In 2010, Japan abolished its time limit on murder, partly because of this family. This case can be prosecuted forever. In July 2025, investigators reread his DNA with tools that didn't exist in 2000. Reports say the killer was older than anyone had thought. Not a teenager. A man in his 30s, which would make him today in his 50s or 60s. 25 years of hunting a young man. He could be a neighbor now, a colleague, somebody's grandfather. The bereaved families are asking Japan to permit the DNA techniques other countries already use. So far, the law hasn't moved. The house still stands. The police will not release it. Inside it is still December 2000. Last year, the whole country sent in 184 tips. And in December 2025, an investigator noticed a broken window. 2 men had been inside. Thieves. When they were arrested, they said they hadn't known whose house it was. Setsuko Miyazawa is 94 years old. Mikio was her son. While I am still alive, I want to be able to tell them. The killer has finally been caught. The detective who first walked into that house still visits this grave every December the 30th. As of the making of this video, no one has ever been arrested for the murders of the Miyazawa family. The man who did it cut his hand that night. Someone somewhere may remember. What is beyond dispute? 4 people who should still be here. Mikio Miyazawa, Yasuko Miyazawa, Niina, Rei. A quarter of a century of evidence, and the only thing missing is a name. If you know something, the Seijo Task Force is still listening. If this case was covered where you live, tell us in the comments. Subscribe for the cases the world ignores, and question every easy story.